Beach FM, locals talking to locals.
The Selwyn District Councilor Grant Miller. Good morning and welcome to you, Grant.
Good morning, and thank you for inviting me along.
Well, lovely to talk to you, Grant. Look, just what's happening on the Kapiti Coast, and I just wonder if there's any similarities to what's happening in Selwyn. We've got many people here, and we've got an increasing... Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, we've got many people coming in here. Quite a few of them are retired, and by definition, many of the retired people have increased health issues and therefore feel more comforted the closer the health providers are. We have had considerable infrastructure investment, which has led to housing issues and also, of course, more people coming into the area. There is concern that in the case of, well, say an earthquake, we could be cut off from the major health providers and therefore be left in a difficult and possibly hazardous position. I'm just wondering whether any of that sounds familiar to you.
John, it's got a very, very familiar ring. Just to sort of give your listeners a bit of a précis of what Selwyn looks like, it's a large rural district on the outskirts of Christchurch. The main centre is Ralston, which post-earthquake has exploded population-wise. We're sort of getting up to sort of 15,000, 16,000 in the township. And what we were good at as a council was putting in water supplies, sewerage and those type of things, but we sort of realised quite quickly that social services and health services weren't keeping up. So one of the things we did was to sort of approach the District Health Board and say, well, what's your plans here to service this growing community? And what we discovered is probably nothing.
Yes, sounds familiar.
But not really their fault, because they were under a very large degree of stress post the earthquake.
Yes.
They were flat out trying to rebuild the Payne Public Hospital, mental health services, then mosque shootings. So they had a lot on their plate. And so we got in touch with them and said, well, can we get together to make a partnership? And that was an unusual proposition for them, probably, because they're used to building their own buildings, doing their own thing, providing their own services. But when we sat down with them and talked about the opportunities, there was a lot of synergies there. The council is a long-term intergenerational organisation.
Yes.
And one of the things that we're at Selwyn looking at is how do we provide service and provide some risk mitigation measures for our community for their future earthquakes. So we're looking to developing an investment property portfolio which will, in time, provide a rebate for our ratepayers' rating burden, and in the event of a future earthquake, will give us the opportunity, as long as they're fully insured, to then rebuild infrastructure by cashing in our insurance policies on these investment properties and give us some ability to rebuild and have a decent infrastructure level again. So one of the things that we found is that what we thought we wanted, it wasn't actually what we needed. We initially started with a full-blown hospital model with long extended hours of service and all these things. But we pretty soon discovered that the actual demand was for a very narrow band of services: maternity, respite, post-operative care, end-of-life care, and just some general, when the St John's ambulance picks people up from home, they don't need to go to a primary care hospital, but need some observation. Maybe your nana's fallen over at night, but she's a bit wobbly, but doesn't need to go to the main hospital, but you just keep in bed overnight and keep an eye on her. This would be a great spot.
What about accident and emergency services? Is that part of the scheme as well?
Well, what we're having in this health hub is a GP practice, which will have an accident room. We've located it right beside our St John's ambulance base.
Right.
So there's a synergy there. The fire brigade is also going to move close to the site. So we're all having close together. We're trying to encourage the police to move there as well. So you get this sort of conglomeration of emergency services. So what the intention is that ambulances will collect emergency. If it's treatable locally, they will be. Otherwise, they will go straight to the primary hospital, which will be similar. We got the helicopter as well if we need that as well. So there's a range of options available.
Right. This is absolutely fascinating. Now, presumably you have raised the money. It's a loan that you've taken out to provide the health hub.
Yes.
And presumably you've got that at reasonable rates, given the current currency markets. It looks as if it's a pretty good time to borrow. It's fascinating to me in that you're looking to this to actually be an earner for the ratepayers eventually.
Well, it's got to be eventually. I mean, because it's an asset which the ratepayers own. Obviously, we're not going to charge full number for it because there's an element of social service. But it is a part of our investment portfolio where we're building up investment of. You can't get a better tenant than a health board.
No, you can't. And it's not just the health board. You mentioned the police, but you've got other health providers being involved in this as well, as I understand.
Yes, part of the process was that we looked at other services we require as well. So we've been fortunate enough that Pacific Radiology are going to come in as well and provide full X-ray and diagnostic services. Once we started saying we were going to build it, we were surprised people with opticians, physiotherapists, obviously pharmacy, dental. There's in the range of sort of primary care specialists in the Christchurch city have indicated they'd like to come out and have a room for 1 day a week and do sort of outpatient clinic.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, there certainly seems to have a lot of synergy there and a lot of sense for the community. And as I understand, we're talking about a very substantial building, around about 4,000 squares and 2 stories. So that's a substantial investment, isn't it?
Yes, but we haven't started building it without having leases signed. So we've been a bit careful. We haven't sort of rushed into it head over heels. We've spent some time talking about how do you make this work financially, both for us and the health board, and obviously the private tenants as well need to make sure that they wouldn't be better off in another tenancy somewhere else.
Indeed. How much money have you committed to it?
Approximately 15 million.
So that seems to me to be reasonably good value. I imagine, things being what they were, one of your major hurdles to overcome was convincing the community that this was in fact a good investment and that you weren't getting involved in something that the District Health Board should have done anyway. Short
answer to that, John, is no.
Oh, really? Great.
No, our community is right behind us. We had it in our annual plan discussion document and overwhelming support. We did look at one stage whether we should have a targeted rate to actually pay for this, and there was very little opposition to that either. If you're looking at options, Christchurch City and Akaroa have recently built a health hub, and the local community has a targeted rate for that there to help fund that hospital. Yeah.
So that was done by the local community and once again leased back to the health board, was it?
The Akaroa one is actually funded by the health board, but the local community was required to put in over $1 million.
I see, right. So it's the partnership idea once again, a slight variation on the theme. But it looks as if it's a theme that is alive and well in the mainland and particularly in Canterbury. I'm highly impressed. Very impressed you could find the time to join us this morning, Grant, and I thank you very much for your time and your inspiration. That's a grand idea. Thank you.
No problem, John.
Okay, mate, there we are. That is Grant Miller, who is a Selwyn District Councilor.
106.3 Beach FM.